Well, my finals are done, which means it's finally time to ramp up progress on this mock. Some of the stuff that I work on in this episode has some of my favorite techniques I've used in this entire mock so far, even if I may have had a little bit of trouble getting there. But let's begin this episode of building RYLOTH. So this is something that I'm just going to have to chip away at a little bit every episode, and that's just slowly working on the terrain. There's not much else new to say here. I'm just continuing the same techniques that I've explained in previous episodes, so I thought that this would be a good time to talk about memberships. You may have seen that I created memberships on this channel. I thought I might as well since I have the ability to do so. I don't expect any of you to join because your viewership is enough support for me, but I wanted to create it just in case there was somebody out there who did want to support monetarily. I did have a lot of fun making some of the rewards, specifically the emotes and the wallpapers that I designed, but you can find all the information and benefits by clicking on the join button on my YouTube page. But I am planning on adding more perks in the future, and I'll let you know when I do that. Well, now it's time that we get back to work on the tower. So I wanted to start by correcting the mistake I'd made in the previous episode where I had the incorrect amount of lights on that one panel. This also helps you get a bit of a better idea of how I'm putting these lights together, as well as how I put these panels together in case you want more information on how you can use this technique for yourself. But once you understand how this technique works, it's pretty easy to adapt it to different shapes and curves, but it can involve a lot of trial and error. I also built 3 more panels for the top of the tower, which pretty much finishes up these 3 columns of panels. And with all the lights wired in, here's what the tower is looking like all lit up. Now that I have the basic shaping of the panels determined, I can pretty easily build up the rest of the panels for this tower. So I'm starting by working on the left column of panels, and these can be fairly identical to the ones I already built, just with different texturing patterns. Even though these are fairly easy to build, they still do take quite a bit of time to put together. With these panels all attached, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the very top of the tower. So I found that the 2x3 wedge plate was a very similar angle to the rest of the tower, so I made use of that piece to get a nice look at the very top of these panels. And then I'm able to attach a flat surface using the snot technique, and the end result has very few gaps. So now when it comes to this top area, I've angled it so it's now at about a 90-degree angle, so it's able to line up perfectly with this top portion, and it's able to lock in right there. So of course the main challenge is going to be how it's going to continue. So it's angling in multiple directions, which is going to be difficult to kind of figure out. So originally it was just going to be a flat wall right here, and it was just going to kind of merge with the rest of the walls of the Capitol just through that flat wall. But I kind of figured out this design, and I really like the look of it. You can kind of see how these panels right here kind of come together at these different angles. Obviously it's kind of a rough prototype. It's kind of janky as well, just kind of moving around. Obviously making use of these hinge plates, and those are connected to these main panels right here. And then it's just a matter of using different wedges and panels to get everything to line up, you know, the best it can possibly be. Now I mentioned that this wasn't my original intention, so that leads to a bit of a problem here. That is the entire tower will just be too wide going with this technique. I originally started with just these 3 columns, and I thought that wasn't wide enough, so I added those 2. But now with the change of plans, I think that this little column right here would work perfectly in place of these 2 columns of panels. But of course that means I just wasted so much time and effort working on all of these panels. This one as well, I would have to modify all of these panels, all of these ones to work with this technique. That's just so annoying, knowing that I wasted so much time on that where I could have been working on something else, especially when I feel like I have such limited time already to work on this. Really by now I was hoping to have this thing done, but I just feel like there's kind of a setback after setback. But we're just going to keep moving forward. So now that I have a basic idea of this new direction I want to take for the tower, I'm first going to modify some of the panels to allow for this new technique. Definitely does suck having to backtrack like this. I do feel like we're at a solid pace for Brickfair Virginia. I should have plenty of parts coming in soon that will really help me progress in this mock. It is definitely partially my fault. I didn't really go into building this tower with the exact specifications in mind for how I wanted to build it, but ultimately I am really happy with the direction that is going. I I've gone ahead and tried to figure out the exact shaping that I want to get with this section. I haven't really gone in and added any detail yet. I just wanted to figure out the exact shaping and structural stability for this section. So I've gone in and added some curved slopes on these sections, just like I'm doing over here with the panels and how they cover up. Curved slopes right here. This helps them meld a bit better. And unfortunate consequence of this is that I had to use a wedge right here just for it to line up better, and I just leave a little bit of the gap right there, which is a little annoying. But on the back here, I'm making use of some flex tubing just to kind of keep them together a bit better. But so far, I definitely think this is the right direction to take this part of the building. So I did off camera add some texture into those panels that I had already built. So now it's time to build up these two remaining sections to pretty much finish up this side of the tower. Now building this is again not inherently difficult. It just takes time. And even once I'm done building it, I still need to go back and I need to tweak it to make sure that there are as minimal gaps as possible, which also takes time in of itself. But working on these, I do end up running out of 1x4 panels in light bluish gray, which is kind of wild because I feel like I ordered so many for Ambara. I also run out of 2x3 wedges, which isn't a surprise since I don't think I've ever used them in a mock before, but more of both of those I do have coming in very soon. Alright, so now with all of these panels finally attached, I am really in love with this new design. This part has kind of been coming undone a little bit because of the weight of this section. Not very noticeable right now, but there's a bit of a seam line right there. But I do think I have a solution for that, and that's just going to come from the rest of the wall. For that, I'm just going to plan on using panels just kind of match the curve, just kind of get a straight line downwards so I can continue kind of going straight back. I also came up with the final design for the top of the tower. There are really no gaps whatsoever. I think it merges really well. And then it just attaches right here to make sure that this is at a 90-degree angle from the start of it. But this does consist of pretty much the final design for this section of the tower, which means I can pretty much now completely replicate the same thing on the other side. Next episode, I do want to complete the majority of the tower. I feel like I've been saying that for the past couple episodes, but I definitely have a lot more time now, and I think I finally have that design down, and I should have all the parts coming in, so I should be able to finish off most of that tower, which is very exciting. But yeah, I'm sorry this video is coming out a little late. It came out a week later than I really wanted it to, but I just had a lot of things pile up, and then I had that massive setback with the tower. But yeah, we'll keep moving on, and we should have this thing done before Break for Virginia. Whether or not we're going to be able to expand the mock anymore, I'm not too sure, because I would really like to add a part of that landing pad, but that's just going to be a matter of time. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode of Building RYLOTH. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye.